All right, I need you to grab a shovel. We're going in depth. Okay, so refer to your handouts. Remember to have your handouts or linked resources open for the question segments. For this particular lesson, the Monkey's Paw by W.W. Jacobs, labeled ID1-Jacobs_monkeyspaw.pdf, will be found on Blackboard or may be linked on the YouTube below under More. If you can't see it, you can also refer to the audio version or radio play of the Monkey's Paw or the play text. You have to download this. This is a text exercise. You have to read it. So when I say read it, read it. Don't just watch it. This isn't entertainment, okay? This is educational programming. All right, so The Monkey's Paw by W.W. Jacobs, 1902. We're going to make inferences, talk about the plot, sequences, and in this in-depth exercise. So let's make some connections. Okay, you can make these connections in your notebook. Get out a notebook, or if you're on the Blackboard version of the course, on the forum for the particular lesson. Okay, what would you wish for if you could make a wish that would come true? Okay, if there was a genie or something of that nature. Do you think having your wish granted would make you happy? Why or why not? Could you think of a time it wouldn't? Okay, so write down your answers. Remember, at any time, you can pause the video by pressing the space bar or tapping the screen on your phone or mobile device. Okay? Making inferences. This is very important. This is all over the GED examination. What is an inference? An inference is a way of connecting something new to prior knowledge. You're building off what you know. You're making a guess based on what you know. It's an informed guess. It's not like rolling the dice and taking a chance. You're taking a guess based on knowledge. How do we make inferences? Based on what we know. Specifically, this story involves wishes. I'm talking about wishes, so you're thinking, oh, maybe this story involves wishes. Making text-to-text connections. We may connect this text to another one. You may be already thinking about the monkey's paw relating to something you've read or seen on television or film. Pictures. A monkey's paw provides us with context clues. You know, it's probably not a metaphor because I put a picture of a monkey's paw on the introduction. Based on this, what do you think the story's about? Think about that a second. Okay? How do you think wishes are used? So what is the story about? The Monkey's Paw is about a monkey's paw that may have the power to grant wishes. But unlike the story of Aladdin, these are not ordinary wishes. These wishes all go horribly wrong. This story is considered a classic in both the horror and suspense genres. It inspired later horror writers. Stephen King's Pet Sematary is heavily influenced by this, as well as numerous television shows and films. One of these segments on The Simpsons' Treehouse of Horror is based off of this story. The film series Wishmaster by Wes Craven is loosely inspired by this. Okay? It's Edwardian. So whereas we talked about Dickens took place in the Victorian era, this takes place one later with King Edward in England. Okay, the author's English. So we're going to do a brief overview of the characters so you can familiarize yourselves before you begin reading. Mr. White, a middle-aged man. His wife is Mrs. White. His son is Herbert. Remember, we're always talking about relationships in terms of the characters. It's always good to keep that in mind. Mrs. White, the wife of Mr. White and mother of Herbert. Herbert, son of Mr. and Mrs. White. He works in a factory. Sergeant Major Morris, a retired military officer and adventurer, Mr. White's friend. Mr. White is the main character in the story. The main character is called the protagonist. He's a middle-aged English gentleman. The story takes place entirely in his home. His wife is Mrs. White. His son is Herbert. He leads a dull life and wouldn't mind a little bit more adventure and excitement. The sergeant major is his friend. Mrs. White is the wife of Mr. White and the mother of Herbert. She's a housewife. She doesn't like Mr. White's friend, the sergeant major, very much. I'm sure you've all encountered someone that you don't particularly like of your husband, wife, spouse, or partner. Okay? Herbert. Herbert is the son of Mr. and Mrs. White. He works at a factory. He enjoys playing chess with his father. He's about 25 years old. Sergeant Major Morris is a retired military officer of the rank Sergeant Major. Sergeant Major is a high rank. He's been to exotic places in the British Empire. One of those exotic places in India. Mrs. White thinks he is, quote, a bit shady, if we look back at the text. If we make an inference as to what she thinks about him, she disapproves of him. And we can tell that based on things like that. Some vocabulary that you may not be familiar with as you read this. Haunch, the back part of an animal, its backside. Fakir, an Indian holy man. Henpeck, to nag at a husband. Pound, a unit of British money. It's like $1 over there. Splurge, spending spree, to spend wildly. Murmur, a quiet utterance under your breath. Sportively, playful, frolicsome. Oversight, a failure to notice, careless error. Leery, suspicious. Mangled, badly damaged or torn. So if a car was in a car crash, the bumper might get mangled. Resignedly, without opposition, in a passive manner. You just give up. Okay? You keep going, but you give up. Plod, to walk slowly and heavily. Okay? Some chess terms. Check, a warning to a player that their king is in danger of being captured. That means the other guy's probably about to win. Checkmate, the act of capturing the king of the losing player. Player whose king is captured loses. Okay? And that's it for that lesson. We'll continue next time.